Hey guys, so while I'm restoring my Humvee, I found that um, my rear disc brake caliper locked up, and I wasn't able to rotate the piston to come down in order to accommodate the new pads and rotor. So I decided to rebuild the entire thing, and been looking online, and nobody has a video on how to get this thing together, changing all the seals and rebuilding them. So this video is just for that. I did not make a video on how to take it apart because I really didn't know the process of how to take them apart. But while I figure like how all this stuff works, I decided to make a video on how to put it all back together. And you guys can just do the reverse process, and you can take them apart quite easily. So it looks intimidating, but actually the principle of how this thing works is quite simple. Just like a normal caliper, except for this has a rear brakes, a mechanical parking brakes, and that's what's make it a little more complicated. And so basically you have this lower piece that has indents on them, and the indents are in two different depths. So they have 3 balls that are loaded in, and these 3 balls, there's this piece with the thread on it, and it also has the grooves, which has 2 indents with different depths on it. And what happened is when it's at the lower depth, the displacement is the least. So as you rotate the lever below, when you pull your emergency brake or e-brake, it rotates this, and as it rotates, it lifts up. You can see how I rotate it, it lifts it up, and then when I rotate it the other way, it comes back down. So that's how when you pull the lever, it moves this entire thing upwards, and it pushes the piston outwards, and it clamps on the disc, the brake pads on the disc. So now the reason for these is for adjustment. So these, the piston also has thread on it, and to load it, you basically thread it on just like that, and thread it all the way down. And what that does is it allows you to like turn this counterclockwise or clockwise to adjust for the thickness of your brake pads. So these has nothing to do with the brake lever. When you turn it and squeezing the caliper, it doesn't do that. Squeezing the rotor, it does not do that. This is for adjustments to close the gap. Yeah, but basically that's about it. That's how this thing works. And there's a little pin here, and I'll show you where the hole's at. But this is basically keeping this thing from rotating when you get it in. It's allows this thing to go up and down, but it doesn't allow rotations. And the rest of the stuff, it just, it retains. This retains the spring. This spring just keeping, it's like that. It's keeping this entire assembly down. So the first thing I'm gonna do is to replace all the seals. And I ordered a seal kit from eBay, and it has everything that you need to replace the seals. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, get all the seals on, and then we'll go over, a step-by-step on how to get this thing reassembled. All right, so I got all the seals on. The only thing I have left is the 2 boots that I'm gonna put in last because I want to show you guys where all the seals are at. So we have a square seal that goes in here, and it's an ID seal. You just popped it on, and it looks, this is the old one. It looks like that, just a square seal, not an O-ring. There's several O-rings that goes into places, like that's an O-ring that goes there, an O-ring that goes into this piece that keep the not sure what the name of this component is, but keep that from rotating. That's a seal here. And what did I miss? One more seal. There's a seal here. All O-rings, except for the square seals that goes in there. So this boot, one of this goes on top, and just kind of just hit it on with a mallet. And then there's another one that goes on the bottom. So the first assembly I did was with this piece, and there's a washer, and there's a bearing pack. You load the bearing in first, load the washer, and then put the O-rings on. I just showed you a clip where I put the O-ring on first, but I realized that you need to get this on first because it won't go over the O-ring. So I took the O-ring out, put these in, and put the O-rings on. And then at this point, we're just gonna load this down there, just like that, load it down, and have the O-ring seal on the bore that's sitting way in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So when you get in there, just push it down, have the O-ring fully loaded. And then next step is we're gonna put these 3 balls in there. Go ahead and drop that on there. And it will naturally fall into the lower spot. So there you have it. It looks just like that. And then next, so this is gonna go on, and basically just load it on. Now make sure that this slot right here is lining up with the hole. Not sure you can see that hole down there. This hole right here, because that's where that piece, that other square piece is gonna come out and stop this from rotating. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that on there, and it should sit just like that. Next, we're gonna load the spring, and the bigger part of the spring goes on top, just like so. And you know what? I forgot one thing. So I'm just gonna go ahead and remove this piece. There is a plastic guide, and this comes with a kit as well. The other piece right here kind of cracked, but they do give you a replacement on the kit. So you just drop it down there, just like so. I think it's supposed to keep the balls uniform and not to jump the track. So, and then we're gonna go ahead and get this thing back on, make sure the slot is lined up with the hole. There we go. And then we're gonna load our spring, and then the spring retainer. Gotta be careful not to scratch up the surface. Okay, so you know what, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove the square seal out and get the spring retainer in because it's kind of got in the way. I don't want it to damage the seal. And then we'll get the seal on after that. With the seal being out, I was able to drop this retainer in quite far down. The rest of the way, it needs to be compressed. And then you got to get this spring retainer. There's a groove all the way down that you need to pop it onto the groove so it retains the spring under tension, and then this retainer. So I gotta find a way to compress it and get this thing in. When I took it out, there was quite a bit of tension that shot this whole thing out. So make sure you wear your safety glasses while you're doing this. Okay, so I had to rig up something real quick. Trying to push the spring and the spring retainer down. So you can't really push down with your hand and apply a strong enough force to get all the way down there and get the spring on. So best thing to do is, I have this piece of PVC pipe laying around. So I'm just gonna push it down with my breast, and once it get all the way down there, pop the spring on and remove it. I think that's probably the easiest way. Well, I'm gonna give it a try, and then we'll show you the end results. Well, this actually went in a lot easier than what I thought. So I pressed this down just far enough to see the groove, and then I got the spring to come in. Most of it came in, it's like this one side still out. Just push it in with a screwdriver, boom, and it popped in. So that's it. Very straightforward. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and remove this PVC pipe, and that part of it is done. So I took out the breast, and this is what it looks like. So the next step is trying to lock this from rotating, and we went over this earlier, that this hole needs to be lining up with, let me see, you can't quite see it, we'll shine a flashlight in there. You can see then there's a slot in there, and make sure that that slot is there when you insert the piece that locks it. So I lightly lubricated with grease, just for the seals to come in nicely, and so make sure it goes along the groove just like so, and yeah, just press it down, just screwdriver, push it all the way down just like that. You can feel it when it comes in, and it's fully loaded. You should not be able to rotate, which I cannot, which is good, because now it's locking into that groove. That's a little spacer that you drop in, just like so. And then you go ahead and put this cap on with a fresh O-ring, and this should help retaining the entire assembly. Make sure everything's cleaned up nicely. Then we're gonna get this O-ring in. That's it, torque that up. I went ahead and put the seals back on, the square seal, because now all the work below is done. The only thing left is to, from the upper assembly anyway, is to put this on, and then we're gonna pop this piston on. And I wanna spend a couple of minutes talking about this piston. So I did not take this apart, and it seems clean enough, didn't need any cleaning. So, and there are no seals in here, so we don't really need to take them apart. But this is actually a clutch. And as this ride up and down, as you rotate them, this entire thing has a cone on the top, and that cone is loaded into this piston on the inside. And so and that's designed to act as a clutch, because the hydraulics will take over when you press on your brake pedal. So while the e-brake is on, and you press on this, now hydraulics is pushing on the cylinder, and it breaks away from that clutch to move forward. At the same time, if you don't have the e-brakes on and you press on the brake pedal, and then this cylinder will move up, leaving this piece behind. So that's how this whole clutch assembly works. But then I don't need to take them apart, so it doesn't matter. All you do is just, insert it like that and then rotate it in. I'm gonna go ahead and get that dust boot on first before I get the cylinder on. All right, guys, one important piece of information. Do not put the dust boot in and then install this, the piston. You got to put the boot in last when the piston goes all the way down. I made a mistake of putting the boot on first and get this to come in. And as you rotate it, it brings the inner lip in, and then it's got in between the seal, the gap, and then they go past the seal, and then it jams everything up. So I busted my boot. I need to order another seal kit, so make sure you don't do that. The boot goes on last. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this piston down, and we'll have to call it for the day. Wait for a new seal kit to come in to use the boot. But I still can do the rest of the work and then just get the boot in later. Didn't ruin my seal. I triple checked it. Seal was fine. It's just the boot got ruined. Yeah, so that's where we are. One other thing that you need to do, I went to a local hardware store and pick up, this is a M10 by 1.25, and I picked this one. I think it's like maybe 2.5 inch to 3 inches maybe, and it works out good. What happened is you need to rotate this and put some pressure on it at the same time to bring it down, because the clutch is not going to let you just turn it. It will not come down. The clutch will break and you're never going to get it down. So what I did was I found some washers in my garage. So I put one of these washers there, and then put a bunch of these washers on top, like so. And then I use this nut to pull it in. This is the same size thread as the nut that's supposed to secure the piston. I went to the hardware store and matched it up, and got this bolt. It turned out to be M10 1.25. So what I do is I turn on this a couple of turns with the wrench until it has some pretty good pressure. Turn on this a couple of turns, and then that become a little bit loose, and then I keep like tying this down and turn this. I tried to put this on the breast, and it didn't work out too well for me, because the piston keep like, it's as it rotates, it tilt, and then it won't engage the inside. The best way is just to pull it down with this bolt, and that way it's going straight down. And it seems to work okay for me. So yes, this is the simplest thing that I can think of to get the piston in. So there's a tool for this. It costs like $85 on eBay. So want to save my money and use this plier, and it works the same way. You can just grab on that and turn it. There's no reason to spend 85 bucks on just that simple wrench. Works out good for me. So as the bolt comes down, it eventually is going to bottom out on the bottom of that other piece that this nut is trying to, that the nut is threading into. So what I did was I have a couple of spacers that I put on. If you don't have these spacers, you can just grab anything like a slightly bigger size nut or something like that, just to create yourself some spaces as the piston walks down. So you can see that the piston came down to, I think we're gonna leave it the way it is right now, because you know, I still need to get that that boot on here, the dust boot, and I want to leave enough gap from here to install the boot. And when the upper lip of the boot should go here, and then it has a little metal disc that you can just hit it down with a mallet. So we'll go ahead and probably gonna call it for the day, leave it like this, and then when my seal kit comes in, I can go ahead and get the rest of them installed. As you can see, that's the bolt right there, and take this little washer out, and inside is where that other piece is that I'm pulling the piston in with it. So yeah, after that we'll put the cap, or like a little bolt with an O-ring on it. We'll show you guys the rest of the process later, but that's what we're doing. Yeah, so it's getting there. Gotta tell you, this is one of the more challenging you know, thing that I've done. And I've done plenty of brake works, but getting this piston in is quite a challenge, and I didn't know what the process was. But yeah, this definitely, I lost a few hours trying to use a press, trying to get this down, but using a bolt to pull it down makes a night and day different in the installation process. If you want to spend some money, go buy that wrench, and then you don't need to use this bolt. But the wrench that fit over top of this, it's like a cap looking thing that drops down, and then on top of it, you can hook up, I think you can hook it up to some kind of like a, it has a square hole, I think, and then you can just hook it up to one of these with an extension, and then as you apply pressure, you turn. But then again, you know, it costs a ton of money, and it's a custom tool that you probably just use once. So I opt not to do that. All right, well, I got my new seal kit, came in today, and went ahead and put the boot on. Just like what I thought, it went in really easy. First, you stretch the top over this whole thing, make sure you crease them up real good, pop it in, and then just lightly tap on the outer ring. There's a metal ring out here, just, you know, lightly tap it down. I like to use something like this where, you know, there's no sharp corner, and I leave it like that, and then I tap the top with a hammer lightly, and I was able to get the whole thing seated properly. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and use this bolt that I showed you guys before to keep getting this entire thing down further, get it all the way down, and then we'll go ahead and put this this nut on to retain this, to keep it from going all the way out. And I guess after that we'll put this thing on, and we're done from the top. Okay, I got this all the way down. I brought it to the vehicle and tested, make sure everything fits, and it does. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this on, and then we're done with the top. So I flip everything upside down, and starting to put the wiper on the bottom on, and basically this is just a lip seal. Well, it's not a seal, it's a wiper. Keep the dust out. So you just get it on there. Apply plenty of grease before that. Get it on. Tap all this down, and your wiper is done. It'll help to get the wiper down. You have something like this laying around the shop. This happened to be a 30mm socket that I have laying around. You could use other size, but this seemed to fit pretty well. And just hit it with a hammer and went down perfectly. So next we're gonna get this thing on, and there's like 3 bigger grooves on here. There's a big groove right there, and it's all gonna fit in. There you go. It's all lined up. Just tap it down. I might put that socket back on and hit it some more, but it might be another way already. No, I think it's probably need to come in a little bit more. It might need to be flush. These two surfaces need to be flush. I'm gonna hit it in, but yeah, that's how it goes. Well, that's as far as I'm gonna get it in. It's still got like a 16 or something off, but that's okay, because when you put this on, it seems to, you know, take up the space. I'll go ahead and tighten that down. I torqued that bolt down pretty good. I didn't feel like looking up torque specs, so I just used my calibrated hand to torque it down, make sure it's nice and tight for that size bolt. So next, this goes on just like that. So this wedge is in there, and then you're gonna pull this with your vice grip and then get it down to this groove here. And there you have it. It's not too bad. It's really not too bad. I can show you guys because I use one of my hand to hold the camera. So, but very straightforward. So I think this is it. Everything is done. Getting ready to put this into the truck. Well, I know it's long. It's like half an hour long video, but hopefully it's educational and you guys are learning along with me, because this is the first time I'm doing it. If having to do this again, I probably can get it on a lot faster, but hey, it is what it is. You're learning something new every day.